They say, don't dwell on the past. They say, stay in the present. What they don't know is that champions aren't capable of thinking that way. When greatness is ahead of you, there can only be one direction on your mind. The path here wasn't always smooth, but looking back isn't an option anymore. All that matters right here, right now, is how history will look back on you. How will you champion the future? Will it be indisputable? A dynasty realized? Retribution? Or redemption? The time for heroes is here. And there's no better moment to show who you will become. To champion the future. Your journey begins now.
This is it, everybody. Day number 1 of the Grand Finals weekend. My name is Jaws, joined by Hex to kick it all off. We got Seoul Dynasty versus the San Francisco Shock to start us out.
Nowhere else in the world I would rather be than watching Overwatch here with you, Jack. It's been such a phenomenal year. We went to a tournament structure a little bit, and what better way to decide the grand finals, the champion of the 2020 Overwatch League, than running our little own tournament here. I think it's the best 4 teams. I think everyone deserves to be here. It's going to be phenomenal. I mean, we're going to have to do an intro, unfortunately, for a couple of minutes. I want to just get into the matches, but here's the brackets. Here's how these teams got here.
Oh yes, indeedy. Thursday, that is today. We have Seoul, of course, facing up against the Shock, and then a little bit later on, we have Fusion up against the Dragons 2. We have NA's second seed versus Asia's first seed. However, Shock, NA's, oh my god, most dominant team in existence currently, I think, in Overwatch, facing against the Seoul Dynasty, APAC's number 2 seed. This is the prize they're all fighting for as well. Playoffs prizing. We got the league champions earning a cool $1.5 million. The runner-up as well getting $750,000.
That's, you know, it's a little nice chunk of change. But what these teams really want is to hold up that trophy at the end of the year. Seoul, of course, is a team that everyone expected to do well, and they've got so many good players on this squad. And when you think of Seoul Dynasty, you think of, first and foremost, Profit.
Oh, absolutely. The 2018 Grand Finals MVP, of course, when he was playing on the London Spitfire. They hoisted that trophy back in 2018, and now they're going up against reigning champions in the Shock as well. Playoffs Profit, they call him that for a reason, and this is really where he comes alive.
Profit is clutch and clutches everything in life. Look, London going into the 2018 playoffs, they literally had their bags packed. They were ready to go, and then they went on this phenomenal run. Profit went absolutely bonkers. I think everyone remembers, I think Volskaya second point, he gets like a 4K on Tracer, deserving MVP, absolutely. And I mean, Profit is just, he's unstoppable when the biggest moments happen, and you just look at these final blows per 10. Profit at 12, the next closest, Jack. The next closest is at 10.
That is just a ridiculous stat line. However, Arns and Striker, both there, tied 3rd for Striker and 5th place for Arns. Not bad at all. And of course, well, if there's one person that could maybe shut down Playoffs Profit, it's going to be Arns, a rookie to this season, retired before he joined the Overwatch League, previous of Team Blossom. And Arns is, I think, easily one of the best Widowmakers in the world, if not the best. He's going to have to be on his A game, though, if he's going up against Prophet.
Absolutely. Just a rookie phenom that he comes in and he's able to elevate San Francisco to even another level. And you mentioned his Widowmaker, but a hero very similar to Widow is Ashe. And Ashe has become so meta lately because of all the utility, and then you damage boost an Ashe and it's almost just like a Widow. So I think we're going to see a lot of Ashe throughout these playoffs because hit scan is so strong right now, and you could not ask for a better head-to-head Ashe matchup than Prophet versus Ons.
Oh, absolutely not. Look at that second and third hero damage done on the Ashe. This is what we want to see. Let's have a look, though. We got the Seoul Dynasty up against the San Francisco Shock.
Seoul is a team that came in as a franchise in 2018 with a world of expectations on their shoulders. Seoul is the esports mecca of the world, and everyone expected the franchise to represent that. It has not worked out in the first 2 years of the Overwatch League. Even this season has had its up and downs for Seoul. There's some 4-match loss streaks during the season, but right now they're playing some of their best Overwatch, and that's when you want to be playing your best Overwatch, Jack, is going into the playoffs. Regular season, it doesn't matter. You've punched your ticket to the dance. You want to be playing your best right now. Let's take a look at their starting six. Of course, aforementioned Prophet. Fitz will join him on that damage line. Gesture is just been a phenomenally consistent tank. If Marvel can play Sigma, that bodes well for him because I think it's his best hero by miles. Tobi will very likely be running the Mercy, and one of the changes they've made rather recently is Creative is playing the Flex support. Mostly, this tells me that they're going to want to play an Ana. We shall see how that plays out.
Well, let's have a look who they're going up against. Of course, you already know. It's the San Francisco Shock, your reigning champions of Overwatch League 2019. It's going to be a tough battle, Hex.
Whenever we look at this roster, we talk about how it's embarrassing. Embarrassing in the best ways, because they can field one of the best starting sixes in the world and then pull all-stars and role-stars off the bench. Every time they add somebody, they just get better and better. There's no meta that they can't play, and they've been here before. Nerves are not going to be an issue. Ons and Striker are going to be your damage duels. Moth and Violet will play the support line. Of course, Twilight still sitting on the bench. Again, ridiculous. Smurf, of course, has been overlooked a little bit. A little bit of surprise that Super is in the starting lineup. Maybe he'll play some Reinhardt. Also plays the Hog if Smurf wants to go and play that Zarya. But what Smurf is really known for, perhaps even overlooked by not getting some of the awards this year, is his phenomenal Winston play.
Yeah, that's some pretty good stats on your screen.
Yeah,
right
pretty
there.
good.
First place in the majority of the one, apart from deaths, fewest of course, and he's sitting on a tasty third. That is ridiculous. Like you said, deserving of the role star, but I think a lot of the players on the San Francisco Shock are. Of course, we're jumping into our first map momentarily. It's going to be Oasis. Control to start us out, Hex. This is day number 1 of the Grand Finals weekend. We're going to get this underway. Shock and Dynasty head-to-head. First time we're seeing in a long time, Hex. The NA versus the APAC region, the East versus West. It's going to be a good one. Strap in. I mean, you got your beverages by your side. You got some snacks. It's going to be a good night.
So Oasis is going to be San Francisco's map pick as they are the higher seed. This is interesting, again, because of the tank line. We'll see what they end up wanting to play here. Choihyobin is sitting on the bench. Choihyobin, last year's Grand Finals MVP, sitting on the bench, of course, you know, because it's a San Francisco Shock. And we've heard some rumors about this meta, some teams going double hit scan, a lot of that. I've done a lot of review of Seoul recently, and they play their best when they're allowed to play Pharah. Prophet, for my dollar, is the best Pharah in the world, and it seems like that's what they want to roll out here.
It's perfect as well, because this stage, of course, does aid the Pharah. If you have control of the point, Hex, you have to attack into so much damage. It can be rather frustrating to deal with, although if Arns manages to get high ground first, his Prophet's going to be having a little bit of a tougher time. You can see those enlarged portraits there, meaning how close you are to the skybox, of course. Striker is going to be on the Sombra as well, Hex. What's the best target here, really? I mean, ideally you want to get Marvel right, but even if you catch Gesture off with a hack, there's not much he can really do. He's going to have to rely on Tobi and Creative to keep him alive.
Yeah, both of these tanks really do suffer when they end up getting hacked, and so that is going to be the big target for Striker trying to get in there. Ons, of course, is going to be on the Pharah duty. He's going to be getting damage boosted, but it's all about just trying to get the angle, because you know where that Pharah is going to be. The Pharah is going to be over the water. First blood drawn by San Francisco.
but already is traded back. Super ends up going down. Still has to deal with Profit, however. Look how close he's to a barrage already. He's already got it online. Are the Shock actually going to expect this? I'm not sure they are. Violet instantly killed off. Luckily enough, though, Arndt is there to pay it in kind, taking out Profit. However, the Shock still controlling the payload. And with Profit just non-existent here, it's pretty easy now for the Shock to get onto this point. Super gets slept, he gets naded, hooked in. Jester finds the kill, but still the Dynasty, they may have this nice forward position, like high ground here with Fitz, but they still need to actually cap the point.
Yeah, they absolutely have to. Creative, the reason he's in this roster is because his Ana is so mechanically clean. You're going to see darts all night. A couple of more kills come in for the Seoul Dynasty. San Francisco very likely just going to try to stall this one out. San Francisco will fight you 4v6. They have no problem with it.
No, they do not. What's dead? There you go, Striker ends up going down just to find the last couple of kills. There's the flip, 31% for the Shock. However, I'm looking at the ults. Striker 10% away from that EMP. They got Mines, they have Valk, Transcendence as well. Seoul Dynasty, I think your ideal situation here is really just making sure you save that Bob. An early kill onto Profit, who switched over to the Tracer, but he does get instantly rezzed.
Yeah, you really can't try to run the Pharah into Ons. Like, he's just going to punish you eventually. You'll even get hacked by Striker on occasion as well. Mines go down to the point.
Another perfect kill onto Profit. He ends up going down. However, Bob does take care of Ons. Still sitting on the EMP are the Shock. However, two people, Smurf and Super, went purple. Easy cleanup for Gesture. Just walks straight through the Shock. And the Dynasty continue to hold.
I mean, so much of this composition is just built around the Roadhog. Of course, we're on the patch where Roadhog is still very, very good. So if you can isolate a Roadhog, you'll see getting hooks in, you'll see getting hacks in, and then it takes 4 people to take them down because they will invest those nano boosts just to keep them alive, just to give the healing burst.
EMP still sitting there for Striker. Rather aggressive play here by Marvel. EMP is going to come out. Hits 2. Profit on Marvel in a little bit of danger. Instant kill onto Fitz and Profit as well. Super, yeah, he's going to go down to Gesture's whole hog, but it is a worthwhile trade. Especially getting that ult out as well can be disastrous for someone like Smurf or, of course, any of the DPS or the healers that get caught by it. The Shock end up winning the team fight and end up finding the cap.
It is an interesting tank combination to be running the ball and chain combination with the Hammond and the Roadhog, because it sometimes can operate a lot like an Orisa and Roadhog used to, because the stuns will lock you up and set up those giant hooks.
Marvel just having a little 1v1. Not quite a 1v1 now, as the hack did land on him, and goodbye. I mean, that's really just all you want to do. Just annoy Marvel enough to make him try and take these 1v1s or engagements that are way far away from his team, where Sombra can get an easy hack on you. A lot of free ult charge was generated too. Beautiful hook by Super, but he hooked a nano hog, and now Gesture can just roll on in. However, Super receives a nano of his own. Fitz with a double dynamite kill, however, and Super just can't get anything done. Gesture managed to evade him that entire time and kill off Violet. The Seoul Dynasty are going to find the cap once again, and now the Shock are on the back foot.
Smurf is caught out there a little late, so that's going to be a stagger kill. We're going to be at 75% and counting up. Fitz tosses in the Bob. That's such a great point control ultimate, and this dynamite is enormous.
Insta-killing Arndt and Moth. There's not too much like bursting. Of course, you're relying on the nade, really, from the Ana to help you through that, but clearly obviously wasn't available. Profit with the pulse bomb. Seoul Dynasty on one-fight territory. Shock have to be able to get back to the point first. Super gets launched up in the air. Those mines not doing too much damage to him. He's able to take a breather and ends Mars' life. Obian's at least finding another kill as well and holding onto the Bob. The Shock are in a very good position right now. So many ults online as they find the cap once again. Now the Dynasty are in one-fight situation.
It's actually really perfect for San Francisco. I was going to think that they were going to have to stay alive long enough in that fight just to get Striker up to his EMP, one of the most important, impactful ultimates in the game. They didn't have to invest it. They're able to win it without it, and now San Francisco is sitting on some great stall-out ultimates and also a winning ultimate in EMP.
There's Profit. Dashes in, gets the touch. Now the rest of the Dynasty, they come in from the low ground. Super in a little bit of trouble, ends up getting slept, but however, Gesture's already gone down. Smurf booted him off the edge. Profit comes back with at least one kill. A Striker sent out the EMP, but I believe that was actually just cancelled straight up. Arndt finds a kill onto Profit, but will it be enough? The Seoul Dynasty are on the point with Tobi popping the Valkyrie, keeping everybody alive. OT is here, however the Seoul Dynasty are pressuring this point out and managed to find the reflip. Marvel takes a little bit of a rest and Super receives the nano, a perfect hook onto Fitz, and now it's all up to the Dynasty to try and stop all this damage coming through from Super, but it's not going to be enough. Striker comes back on the Tracer, kills off Tobi, a nice hook onto Marvel, he's long gone, and now the Shock are on cleanup duty. The Seoul Dynasty may have found the flip, but they haven't got many lives left remaining. Creative gives the nano to Profit, but it's not going to be enough. The Shock find the cap, OT ticks down, and Shock will find the first stage.
What a great battle of the Ana plays. I know that warms your heart, Jack, but Violet there towards the end is able to sleep a very aggressive Marvel, puts him on the stairs. It allows Violet to stay alive, get the nano boost off, and then in those cleanup situations, is there a Tracer you'd rather have than Striker? Striker, probably the best Tracer in the world, pound for pound. He comes in, cleans up the rest. San Francisco takes the very first round of Oasis in an extremely close match. I mentioned that Seoul likes to run the Pharah. This is a very good Pharah point.
It is, but again, it does kind of rely on you actually controlling the point, Hex.
Yes.
If Shock end up controlling the high grounds, yeah, good luck, Profit. You're not really going to get much done. You have to come through very small archways or very conveniently lowered ceilings, I guess. You can just hop over them, of course, but Arnt's going to have such a nice sightline. It's all up to the Dynasty here to make the first move and try and get that high ground and take it away from the Shock. It looks like they've done just that. Another bit of annoyance for Profit as well, of course, is the Discord Orb from Violet, Hex. It can do so much extra damage. Even people like Smurf can aid in killing Profit that way.
Well, absolutely. I think if you're going to be going against a Pharah and Mercy, you have to put two people against it. You can't just have your hit scan do it. You need help with the Zen.
Do they know? Do they know Profit's here? They definitely do now. Arnt's taking a little bit too much damage. Profit the same. And Fitz ends up just headshotting Striker. An insta-kill on the Tracer as the point does unlock. Gesture going rather low. Nade on him. Does mean he's not going to receive any healing from his breather or the rest of his healers. However, luckily enough, Tobi was there in the nick of time to get the resurrection off. And the Seoul Dynasty, once again, they find this cap.
What makes Profit the best Pharah in the world, in my opinion, is not necessarily his aim, his accuracy, his splash, or anything like that. It is his movement. The best Pharahs in the world are Pharahs that are hard to predict where they're going and are never going to touch the ground, using all the tech available to Pharah.
So, speaking of ult batteries, Smurf was definitely one then at that point. Unfortunately, giving a lot of free ult charge away as he was trying to escape. Shock put themselves on the point, but look at Profit's positioning, by the way. Like, he's just playing on these rooftops. He has Barrage available, doesn't really need to use it instantly. It's more of a death sentence more often than not. Gesture ends up going down first as the Shock put themselves on the point. Who's going to be there to contest? Well, it's not going to be much anymore. There's the Barrage straight on top of the transcending Zenyatta. Violet just shrugs it all off, and his teammates do as well. So much healing was invested there, and a fair few ults as well from the Dynasty, as the Shock end up capping the point, and they've got a lot to spare too. They've got Bob, they have Valkyrie, as well as those mines, whole hog. They've basically got everything but the Transcendence here.
The very first kill onto Gesture is enormous, because Gesture does play the Roadhog in a very main tank kind of way. He is taking up space, he's making sure that his team has all the position that they need. You don't necessarily think of Roadhog like that, you think of him as a pick tank. Speaking of that, Super gets picked.
Super went down to 1 HP, and then he was anti-naded, and Gesture with the nano boost kills 2. Pulse Bomb, yeah, went a little bit wide. That hook definitely didn't, though. That's Gesture's 3rd kill of the fight. Moth at least resurrected Super, but it's not going to really matter. Violet's also dead, and now you're just free ult charge for Profit. Goodbye, Moth, and goodbye to the point. The Shock are going to get cleared on off, and the Seoul are going to be able to get the recap.
Yeah, it is one of those maps that you can really stall out a lot. A lot of Oasis maps are just like that. This is going to be Gesture boosted. That means Super's dead, and here just comes the cleanup. Those long-range right-clicks. In my opinion, it's one of the best feelings in the world to hit a perfect right-click on Roadhog at the perfect range. Gets the hook to round it out. A nice 3K from Gesture. We know that Seoul is probably just going to run Gesture on Roadhog all set.
Oh, Creative got turned into Jam. There's not much left of him, unfortunately. Smurf gets away with murder, almost. That whole hog doing a whole bunch of work. However, beautiful sleep dart onto Gesture. He is antied as well. Someone's going to have to follow this up with damage. Striker finally finishes him off. And Super takes a breather. Beautiful hook too to cancel the resurrection. And he kills Tobi as well. Regardless of that stick from Profit, at least he managed to find the kill. But the Seoul Dynasty, their main game plan right now, Hex, is just to stall at this point. I mean, Arns has gotten the kill onto Fitz, and they're trying to kind of corral them to 1 point or 1 corner of this point even, but they can't really do it. Look at the ball still stalling. That was an extra, what, 10-15% at this point? Maybe a little bit more as well. 95% onto Seoul Dynasty. Might as well be 99 as Shock end up finding the flip. However, Seoul, they can just stack ults here. That's really all they need to do. Nice little boot from Smurf there. Rather cheeky. However, yeah, no one's going to die from it.
Well, I mean, you speak about stacking ults, but San Francisco has already stacked their ults. They have everything that they could possibly want here. So if they can win a fight without having to use everything, maybe 1 or 2, maybe a Nano Hog, a Nano Whole Hog can win you a fight and pull this one off, then they're going to be in a great spot again. Remember, Seoul was in the lead on the last round, but then San Francisco was able to win 2 fights by superior economy.
Oh my word, both Traces blowing the recall. Yeah, Striker wants to back off, make sure he doesn't die instantly. Mines are going to come out. There's the Bob as well. Oh my word, Super! Just went into a different galaxy. There's the whole hog. Gesture in a little bit of trouble. However, he does get Nano, so he's able to survive the spray for the time being. And Shock have drawn this out long enough as well to force Seoul Dynasty to win this fight, or they're just going to lose this first map. Smurf ends up going down, but Striker's rather healthy in the sidelines, doing so much work. He's got the Pulse Bomb as well. Nothing is stopping him at this point. Fitz throws out the bomb onto point, but everybody just avoids it. Creative finds kill onto Super, but Arns is going to clean this all up. Shock are planting themselves on the point, making a name for themselves as Gesture jumping over to the Winston to try and get back in time, but no one is dealing with Striker. No one can. Seoul Dynasty go down, and the Shock are going to claim map number 1.
Striker, I mentioned, is probably the best tracer in the world. He was in the running for MVP in Season 1 of the Overwatch League. He was really the reason that that Boston team was as good as they were in Stage 3. He was an MVP candidate mostly because of his tracer, and when he goes on to that, it took him a long time to kill the Hammond, but that's just the nature of Hammonds. Look, just both of these rosters, you can look at them and say, yes, they have the best hero in the world with this guy on it. It was as close as can be, but in the end, San Francisco just eked out ult advantage in round 1 and then round 2.
Let's jump to a quick break though. We've got map number 2 coming up soon. Shock leading the series currently. We'll see if Seoul can bite back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
You just gotta keep moving forward.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey guys, welcome back. And the special announcement you've all been waiting for today is that Coke Energy is rewarding all viewers for the next hour by boosting you with 3x Overwatch League tokens when you watch on overwatchleague.com and the Overwatch League app. Now you can load up and get the all-new All-Stars skins even faster. Coke Energy comes in 4 delicious flavors: Coke Zero Sugar, Cherry, and Cherry Zero Sugar. That's about the same amount as caffeine in a can as about a 12-ounce cup of drip coffee. So yeah, not too bad whatsoever. The skins are looking pretty good. Coke Energy is tasting pretty good too, as we head into map number 2, which is up next.
Usually I can't, have my caffeine on stream, and I kind of need it right now, and that was pretty darn tasty. Pretty darn tasty.
Isn't it? Well, guess what?
Guess what?
No more double main tank from the Shock. They've had enough being silly. They're actually having Choi coming in. We've got Smurf stepping away. So we're going to have Super and Choi. Does that mean Reinhardt? I think that does. I would be very surprised if we're seeing anything else. And what's really interesting about the Shock lineup, Hex, and we talk about it a lot, but obviously the depth in the Shock bench. However,
yes,
when looking at the tank line, especially with Choi sitting on the bench and him coming in and Super staying in, we always see Super on maps like Hybrid and maps like King's Row, for example, because they want this Reinhardt player. If they have Smurf in, it tells the tale normally. Okay, we're going to have a little bit of dive, a little bit of Winston gameplay. And sometimes having a tell is a bad thing, but when it comes to the Shock, I don't think it's a bad thing whatsoever. And in fact, it leads to maybe a few more nerves, a few more nightmares, if you will.
Well, I mean, Seoul is going to pick Hollywood, and we can talk about what compositions you want to run on Hollywood, but I think this is a brilliant pick from the Seoul Dynasty. The most recent time you saw San Francisco Shock play Hollywood was against the Philadelphia Fusion, a series they ended up winning, but they lost this map. Not only did they lose this map, they got full health. They didn't even touch the point, they got no percentage on it. San Francisco Shock got absolutely rocked on Hollywood, so Seoul has done their homework on it, and obviously San Francisco is going to make some adjustments, because what they did last time was just a D.Va and a Winston, and their Winston just got blown up constantly. So Seoul, I mentioned it before, they like to run the Pharah probably more than any other team. That's what they're going to roll out here on defense. We'll see what San Francisco has to counteract that. I don't know if we're going to see Reinhardt, but I think you bring Choihyobin in because he can play D.Va if you get to second point, so you can take away some of that high ground, but he also has a fantastic Sigma in his pocket.
You're crushing my dreams, man. All I want to see is some Super Reinhardt, some honest Overwatch, but nobody gets Super Hog, which is still pretty honest, to be fair, I would say. Maybe not as honest as Reinhardt, Mr. Melee Man.
Double hit scan.
Prophet's on the Widow, though.
Prophet's going to have some problems here.
Oh my word, yeah, you don't want to take a headshot there. No. You just see instantly blocking off security as well with a shield, knowing that Arns could just peek through an insta-kill him. There's the grapple. Doesn't spot anybody, but yeah, they're going to be a little bit more careful. Gesture on the sidelines, though. Oh my word, that rock was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful from Seoul Dynasty, interrupting Super from doing really all of anything, and everybody's just going to keel over. I mean, having Gesture kind of play on this flank too, obviously you have to look kind of both ways, but the issue is for Super there, if he goes for the hook, that's an easy rock to the back, and it does rely on Choi kind of either body blocking it or trying to block it with the shield. I like the two-pronged attack that they do have, or three-pronged I must say, because of course Prophet is high in the sky, already nearing his first barrage.
But Prophet is really smart about how to play around architecture, and Hollywood does offer some unique stuff. Of course, there's that initial archway, but then you can just surf on the roofs for the rest of it.
Oh, no one is having a good time now. Both tanks instantly killed, and now the Dynasty should be able to clean this one up. There's a hook, there's a kill. That's another one for Gesture. It's like, Prophet, you want to take a seat, son? I think it's Gesture's time to shine. Maybe he's really gunning for that Grand Finals MVP.
Well, Gesture's going to take a little siesta, but there's going to be no follow-up available there, and already only down to 2.5 minutes. San Francisco yet to register much of an impact thus far, and they just haven't been able to deal with Prophet. Look, they've got the heroes to do it. They've got double hit scan. Ooh, big sleep, but a nice shield.
As well. Beautiful shield. And the Flux is going to come up as well, but Creative's already dead. Hans clicks on his head. And just like that, the point is really just opened up. Tobi's going to be able to find the res, however, but with Gesture and not really have much of a front line now, that Sigma shield isn't going to last long, especially against someone like a Hog. Striker's got Bob on line too, as Prophet ends up falling down. At least they managed to kill off Violet, but the Bob is going to do a fair bit of work to the NEB Bob in this situation, but with Shock just being on the point here, it's already up to Seoul Dynasty to try and recontest. Creative's in the side, he's low health, has to go to the mini underneath the cafe, and Arns with a beautiful sightline takes out Fitz.
Yeah, a lot of that comes back to that very initial sleep. I mean, yes, they don't get the kill off of it, but then it forces people out of position, it forces the shields on, it forces the flux, and then they get a kill onto Creative, which is a bulk of their healing. It means that Tobi has to heal everybody, not just Prophet, and San Francisco's able to crack it off of that.
Easy does it, and now Prophet, yeah, switching over. I didn't think he was going to stay on the Pharah. There's almost no way. I mean, what, Arns takes high ground, then you just basically can't do anything. Let's have a look at these headshots. Arns just doing what he does best, and click heads. He didn't even see Creative for like half a second, and he was able to instantly kill him. This is why you should fear Arns, always on the Widowmaker, always on the hit scan, and at a place like this too, insta-killing Tobi as well. So Dynasty now completely on the back foot.
The most important target, absolutely. Super's in a lot of trouble, though. Prophet's able to take him down. They're going to be able to get this res.
They're going to go for the flux. They actually managed to find two, and a nice little hook onto the high ground. But Super, he got premium shipping on getting to the high ground there. Didn't even need to take the elevator. Insta-kill Gesture. He does get slept, but look at all the space that they were able to create, and Marble's going to go down as well. The Seoul Dynasty are just gifting the San Francisco Shock the high ground, which is exactly where they want to be with this double sniper.
You know, Super as a Reinhardt player is used to not being able to play the game, so he's getting stunned and slept and hacked and everything, but he's used to it. He's got the mental fortitude to go through it. He just got slept again and then woken up. San Francisco is taking a great deal of push, and more importantly, San Francisco has the high ground with both Ashe and Widow.
Look how far and away they're trying to play, but I mean, the Sice is the best thing that Fitz can really use. However, Moth is going to be able to res. There isn't really much room there for Fitz to capitalize on that. Super does get anti-naded as well, but is going to be able to heal himself up. Marl taking a little bit of a nap also. Bob is going to come out on the point for the Shock, and there you go. There's the kill. Moth, Bob, and the Valkyrie as well. Fitz at least finds one, and a nice anti-grenade from Creative onto both tanks, but hiding behind the shield is what they're going to do. And the whole hog available for Super. This should just be the second point. However, just having that high ground there is so important. I mean, yes, Fitz is finding the kills, but the issue is if your tanks aren't actually pushing up on that space that you're creating and stopping people like Moth from getting the res, there's not much you can do if you just go the Widowmaker.
I mean, it's not just about that for Ons. Ons is a great duelist when the Widows come, but one of the great things about Ons' gameplay is he will target tanks, and he will hit headshots onto tanks like a Zarya or a Roadhog in this instance as well, and that forces out resources. You're not getting the kill, but you're forcing them to use resources, whether it be a breather or a nade or anything. He does a great job of being a tank buster.
Uh-oh. Oh, Choi actually gets nanoed in there. The Dragons are going to come out as well from the Seoul Dynasty. That's a lot of ultimates. I'm not entirely sure what's happening in the Room of Pain. Nice little hook onto the Mercy of all things. Goodbye, Moth. However, the Shock are still getting a lot of movement on this payload at the very least. They're going to have to definitely back off as Violet is low as well. Nice little shield there from Choi to make sure Violet does stay alive and around that corner. Corners are your best friends in Overwatch at the end of the day. And now Fitz can just kind of set up. Him and Arns are going to have a nice little duel here, but it's going to be about Gesture or Super grabbing one of the other tanks and dragging them around a corner away from their healers and away from their support.
Well, Striker's gone over to the Hanzo as well, so running very similar compositions. I think one of the reasons you're seeing Sigma get a resurgence here is that his shield is just a momentary shield. You don't have to hold it up. There's a lot of shield crack on the other side. That's the hook open.
That's a perfect kill. Super's in trouble though, he should just die to this flux. In fact, two people did. Choi is also going to fall. Resurrection does come on to Super, but I think the damage has really already been... Striker's also fallen, 2 Fitz. This double sniper in a very small, narrow alleyway is rather deadly, and Prophet and Fitz just really putting Shock through the ringer.
Well, Shock have a couple of ultimates to try to work with here, but they're not the best ultimates to try to crack open a point, rather. Violet can nano Super, and it's going to buy you a lot of space, but the thing is, Seoul Dynasty is playing a composition where they're going to just run a crossfire. Where are you going to really find value? Everyone is so far away.
Odds must have had that grapple hook. must have an idea where Fitz is. Well, Super just tanked a shot there, so they definitely will at this point. They're still struggling to get this high ground. In fact, Super's gone on a bit of a solo mission, playing a bit of the solo queue hog on the low ground, just trying to find a hook. Now they know where everybody is, as the sites were used by both teams, in fact. 1 minute remains, Hex. Quick engagement from Jester, though. And now really Seoul Dynasty needs to be able to get onto this point. Marv, he needs his ult, man. He needs it. There's the whole hog blowing everybody away. Can Super just do this on his own? He might just be able to. Creative's going to fall as well. That's an instant hook, cancelling the rock as well. Marvel's going to go down. Tobi popping the wings. Moth has wings in kind. That Valkyrie could save them. However, Fitz on the sidelines going in almost melee range of the hog. Was able to kill Violet and Super back to back. 30 seconds for the shock to try and complete.
There's been a couple of fights so far that San Francisco has lost. Mercy first. Moth has gone down first. Although this time there is going to be a Valkyrie, makes him a much more difficult target. San Francisco might have to use the Dragon Strike from Hanzo just to open up some space on the point. It is their last push, Jaws.
Oh, and that's a good pick. Can't rest that either because the hog's straight on top of it. They're going to push everybody onto the payload. So he gets dragged back in again, but Super's more than happy to just do that. There is the whole hog on the ground, the Flux to crash everybody back down. And Fizz does take out Arns, but look at Moth in the backline. He's going to be able to find the kill as well if Fizz isn't careful. All the meanwhile, though, Shock just decimate the Seoul Dynasty's front line. They complete. They don't complete with Time Hex, but they at least complete Hollywood.
A little bit of anti-synergy there towards the end as the whole hog was coming out for the Seoul Dynasty, and then all his targets got lifted into the air and almost saved away from that whole hog. Gesture had the backboard for him, which is what you want from a whole hog. A couple of stacks of crates there. He could have gotten some kills. But at the end of the day, the combination of those two ultimates does not find anything. San Francisco able to open it up. And what's really not, I mentioned like using the dragon to try to open things up. They use it on the left side. There's not a lot of high ground to take, but it is a small high ground, and there's a lot of architecture on that left side you can hide behind. So Striker uses the Dragon Strike to get in there, and then he's in good position to follow up with arrows. San Francisco does finish. Like I said, last time they were on this map, they didn't even take point 1, so you have to be happy with that if you're a Shock fan.
Absolutely, and yeah, I mean, Hollywood, I think so-so on third point. I don't finish it. I feel like I never finish Hollywood.
It's tough.
I think it's just my selective memory. It's not like a Rialto, for example, or a Havana, for example, like which are extraordinarily tough maps to end up finishing. But still,
especially with these compositions. Because you think about where the Hanzo sets up, he's on the trailer, and then Widow's all the way in the back with natural cover too, and so it's just really hard to crack against a double sniper composition because you really have to walk in through a narrow hallway. There's not a whole lot of different angles to attack last point if you're the offense.
Prophet is completely switched off as well, Hex, mind you, from the far. He knows that. Well, Shock running double sniper themselves, and he's not going to get much success with it. I was extremely excited to see Prophet play some more of that Farah, but against a team like the Shock, it seems like more of a mistake to to play it.
Seoul does like running the Farah, but they do know that its Farah's a lot of the times better on defense, and so they will generally try to run it on defense where you can use the architecture rather than trying to crack through a point with a Farah.
Ooh, that was close. Our Resurrection's available on both sides, of course, so if a pick happens early, hopefully the Mercies can get to the bodies. Slowly but surely, the Seoul now making their way in, of course. They want to be able to take this high ground.
Yeah, that's where he wanted it.
Nice.
Yeah, probably.
You know what? Didn't alert him to the nearby enemies, that is for sure. Gesture and Fitz end up finding kills. A nice resurrection on Striker, but who's behind? Well, it's Gesture. You must know he's there. There's the hook. Does go wide, but still the pressure is kind of mounting right now. They need to deal with Gesture. Otherwise, Seoul Dynasty could basically just push on the point for free. He's eventually kind of pushed out and was sent rather low. You can see that Discord orb instantly applied to him as soon as he leaves that cover. 3 HP for Tyler, by the way.
Hans playing on second point, and he's able to get Fitz as he re-enters. San Francisco's going to be able to push this all the way back. Prophet would like to get some exit kills or at least force out the resurrection. He does just that, but I think Prophet's going to pay for his life.
Yep. Can he get away?
No, getting heals.
There's no way. There you go. Beautiful rock by Choi. Roll star, by the way. Getting the perfect rock to stop Prophet from doing anything. That was a heavy stagger as well, mind you. It feels like it would have been better for Prophet to actually just die instantly there to group as 6 with his team again.
Well, I mean, Fleta actually got 2 kills against this Seoul Dynasty team that swung a point for him, so maybe Prophet remembers that Havana map, trying to get his own heroics.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know exactly where he's going to jump shot to, so hiding in the stairwell is the main priority there for Violet. Prophet ends up going down. Again, Arn's now trying to watch the body. However, those shields are proving quite the tall task for him to actually shoot through. Didn't end up cracking, so Arns wasn't able to follow up with another kill. And now the Shock with only 1 minute and 30 seconds to defend with, and a whole heap of ults as well. Dragon Strike to open it all up. The Nano Booster onto Marvel as well, but already Creative and Gesture are going to go down. That Flux sends Marvel sky high, is crashing back down, and even with the Nano Boost, Hex, you're not really doing all too much. The rest of your team are already dead too. And the Shock, it feels like they might just be able to full hold this, Hex. They are going up against, what, a Whole Hog and a Flux? But the Shock can play around this so easily. They've got the Transcendence in their back pocket this whole time.
Yeah, they've got the healing ultimates that they need because Violet's just been adding so much extra damage. It is the one difference that these compositions are running. An Ana versus a Transcendence. Can this get rezzed is the question. You would need Ons into this fight.
Oh my goodness, he does manage to get it in time, just in range. There's the Valk. Does finally need the Transcendence? I don't think he does. No, not at all. He just got perma-pocketed. And no one from the Dynasty can actually follow that up with any kills or any damage, mind you. There's the Transcendence from Violet, pushing everybody forward, as the rest of the Shock are able to just convene on the point. Remember, Seoul Dynasty did lose someone rather early on in this fight as well. Arns narrowly almost click at the head of Tobi, but Super did one better there and actually killed off Gesture. 20 seconds does remain, and there's the kills. Opening for the Seoul Dynasty now. However, Moth once again on the res onto Striker.
They bring it back. Striker's only a couple arrows away from getting a Dragon Strike too. A little pressure on the point from Marvel.
Oh my goodness, over the top. Prophet with 80 HP just gets headshot by Striker. A risky move is punished. A Wrecking Ball now in the back for Gesture to try and create some space, but Super says not today. Whole Hog into the wall, and now it is all in the Dynasty to try and get to this point. Overtime is ticking down. Emergency Nano onto Marvel to try and make it work. Violet and Super end up falling, but still, Striker is alive. Same with Arns. The DPS are doing work, and Marvel is going to go down 4% towards his ult when he might have been able to save it all. The Dragon Strike on the point, but Moth is back once again with the res. And the Shock, they're going to clean them off. And 2-0 in the series. They're leading and now going into match point in map number 3.
We talk so much about Ons, and you can see it right there. This is a man who takes his craft seriously. He sands down his mouse pad so that he can make micro adjustments on his Widow. He hits shot after shot. Stat line ends up with 16 eliminations, 10 final blows, 35% crit accuracy. 1 out of every 3 shots was a headshot. And he just kept doing the same thing. He was playing that second point grapple shot, and he was hitting those shots. They were able to get entry kills onto Tobi several times, and without your Mercy in that composition, it becomes very difficult for the Ana to put out enough healing. The way they want to spread out that composition, there's just too many targets, too many places, and San Francisco Shock, and what was not a great map for them, Seoul picked this map into them, now take a 2-0 lead.
Playoff Prophet, he needs to be born right now to come back in this series. Of course, there is a lower bracket, mind you, but they definitely want to knock down the #1 seed from North America. We're going to jump to a quick break. We got Watch Point to break down the first 2 maps in a sec.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League. Welcome to our game break presented by Pringles. Wavy, Zoe here, joined by Costa as well as Reinforced. And we're here to break down all the action of our first semi-finals in the winner's bracket between the Seoul Dynasty and the San Francisco Shock, who are currently leading 2-0. A very dominant performance from the Shock. So let's dive straight into this. Costa, the meta, or rather the compositions we're seeing, are they kind of what you expected to see from either of those teams?
I think this is, we've been hearing rumors and murmurs about, Roadhog is going to be a dominant factor, and we're starting to see it now. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this from, the other two teams later today. And yeah, it's just the Roadhog acting as that meat shield on the front, playing a Mercy, and then usually an Ashe. Those seem to be the three common factors we've seen in these first two maps, right? And I'm expecting to see more of that. We are seeing some alteration. We got the answer. Why are we seeing Super and Smurf? It was because they wanted to play Super on that Roadhog and then Smurf on that Wrecking Ball. And then we see on the other side, Seoul Dynasty are pretty much doing exactly what they did in the playoffs leading up to this Final Four, gesture on that Roadhog. So I'm really excited to see how this evolves and if anyone sort of throws a wrench in the works.
Absolutely. Now, if we're looking at the second map, though, or actually even in the first map, one big difference maker had to be Ons. He went on an absolute tear on Ashe as well as Widowmaker, and he just doesn't seem to miss those shots, Reinforced.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is what we talked about in the pre-show as well, right? That the big difference maker players for the San Francisco Shock are the damage players, and you can see the stats for yourselves here. Ons as Widowmaker on Hollywood specifically, 8 final blows per 10 minutes and 35% scoped critical hit accuracy. Ons made his presence known on this map, and it was so very difficult for the Seoul Dynasty to really deal with Ons because he's able to get so many first eliminations, right? If you take a look at Ons' regular season statistics, he ranks out of 170 players, he ranks 5th in first eliminations because he so reliably gets these first pickoffs. And then from there on out, the San Francisco Shock, they're playing with a 6 versus 5 man advantage, and from there on out, you're able to close out so many of these fights. And going into Hollywood, this is really what the Seoul Dynasty were struggling with. They weren't really able to shut down the damage duo of the San Francisco Shock. Ons repeatedly got so many first eliminations, and with that in mind, the Shock are able to win this map relatively easily based on just Ons Widowmaker stats alone.
Now let's take a look at our crunch time presented by Pringles. Wavy, Reinforce, you were rather impressed with that first point hold on Hollywood from the San Francisco Shock.
Yeah, I was really impressed actually, because it was a very beautiful tactical adaptation from the San Francisco Shock. You can take a look at these compositions, and the real only difference is actually that Creative is playing this Ana and Violet is playing the Zenyatta. So how did the San Francisco Shock play this defense? Well, they recognize that they are playing the Zenyatta, so they want to sit far back actually and play a very concave angle, which makes it very difficult for the Seoul Dynasty to claim any space. When you take a look at the Seoul Dynasty's composition, they're playing the Roadhog, they're playing some Sigma here as well. It's very difficult for them to walk up and take all of this space, and because it takes so long for Seoul Dynasty to walk up, the San Francisco Shock, they're able to lean back, they can rely on Zenyatta's damage output and the picks coming out from your Widowmaker as well as your Hanzo and Super to find picks with the Roadhog as well. You're able to utilize all this time it takes for the Seoul Dynasty to walk up and push up to the San Francisco Shock, that you can reliably find these picks before the Seoul Dynasty are able to engage in a way they would like to do. And so with this in mind, the Shock adapting beautifully here, they're taking it very slow, they're forcing the Seoul Dynasty to push into them, and the Seoul Dynasty don't look comfortable doing that. So if the Shock continues to play this very slow pace with Violet and Zenyatta, I think it's going to be very difficult for Seoul Dynasty to claw themselves back into this one.
I want to follow up on that as well. I think it's Shock doing a phenomenal job of playing to their win condition. As Johnny said, the Zenyatta from Violet is a really impactful and important choice. You're seeing that Seoul Dynasty really just want to get map control, but because of that Zenyatta, it's just too much damage. They can never get that space without being punished. So really great play by the San Francisco Shock, especially from them, seeing the two different map adaptations from those two heroes with the Wrecking Balls from the Zenyatas. It feels like Shock has a good grasp, and as of us said in the pre-show, McGravy said in the pre-show, if they get their footing on what this meta is, I think they are the clear favorites for this Grand Finals.
Yeah, and I mean, this means that the Shock now won the map pick of the Seoul Dynasty. Seoul Dynasty, once again, it's their turn to pick a map, and they went with Volskaya as our third map. Costa, what are your thoughts on Volskaya and Seoul Dynasty's chances on it?
It's going to be really interesting. I'm excited to see if they're going to go more towards this Wrecking Ball and keep that mobility going that we saw in the first map, or if they're going to go again for this double sniper, try and play these picks. If they go for that pick composition again, I want to see them mirror that Zenyatta, though. I don't think they're going to get the value from the Ana they really want.
Yeah, I will say I think you have to speed up the gameplay here. We know that Profit has a mean tracer, and I think you can get away with playing the Wrecking Ball as well. I don't think you can play slow into the San Francisco Shock, because the San Francisco Shock, that is when they're at their best. They are at their best when Ans can sit back on the sniper heroes and get these picks from afar, and when Violet can play the Zenyatta. You don't want to play into the San Francisco Shock. So I would like to see Seoul Dynasty speed things up in the second half if they want to claw themselves back into the series.
And we're going to see some changes as well to the rosters for the San Francisco Shock. Super is out and Smurf is in, and on the other side of the Dynasty, Creative will be subbed out for Bdosin. So let's see how that goes as we're heading over for Volskaya, and for all the action we once more send it back over to Joss and Hex.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.
Map number 3 now on your screens, and Hex, is it going to be a 3-0? The very start, day number 1 of the Grand Finals. It's Shock and Dynasty, and Shock are 2 maps up right now, and they full held as well on Hollywood on that second map. And Seoul, they're looking a little bit worse for wear, but I think this really shows just the sheer power power, really, of the San Francisco Shock.
And it was Seoul's map pick, and it was a map that I assumed Shock was weak on. It was one of the few maps that they've lost recently and did not look good on, like they didn't have a grasp on it either. And Seoul, their recent results, look, they took Shanghai to 5 super recently, and then they just swept New York to get in the position they are. Like I mentioned, they are playing some of the best Overwatch possible, but you should not be surprised because San Francisco has been dominant no matter who they face. They've got this enormous roster they can bring in, they adjust, they have this crazy good coaching staff, and I do believe we have some subs on both sides there, Jack.
Yeah, we've actually got Bdosin coming in for the Seoul Dynasty, so that makes Prophet Gesture and Bdosin, so not too bad. That's a lot of ex-London Spitfire boys, of course. We were talking about that a little bit earlier on, Hex, with Playoffs Prophet and just Prophet being just this ridiculous gamer when it comes to just high-pressure, stressful situations. Definitely was back in 2018 when, of course, they took home the trophy. But now they're playing against the San Francisco Shock, the reigning champions. This is really just now Seoul just having to prove that they can be the same kind of energy and they can bring the same kind of fight that London did back in 2018.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much talent on the field right now on both sides. A lot of champions, a lot of hardware on the field for both teams. So Seoul's going to have to dig deep right now. And, it is going to be Seoul's map pick here, Jack. And there's just not a lot of maps that San Francisco's weak on. So you have to just pick to your strengths. And I believe Bdosin will be coming in to play Zen. Zen Mercy dive compositions have been very popular on several maps.
Yeah, we do have a Smurf coming in for Super as well for the Shock. So, oh man, we just talked about it a little bit in the break, Hex. You want to play to your strengths, ideally, right? Rather than the enemy's weaknesses. Shock, however, not too many weaknesses on their half. However, that draw on Volskaya, maybe a little bit of a weakness there, but other than that, yeah, undefeated on this current map. So, not looking too bad coming into this one. But with Seoul picking it, it could just be all up in the air, of course. Xfinity, though, have, well, they're presenting the fastest map times on this one. Volskaya Industries, it's a treacherous one, let's say. Not one of my favorites in terms of assault. It feels like point number 2 could last forever. However, the Dynasty made sure it doesn't last forever. I mean, against the Charge, they ended up with a 5:18 time bank at the very end. That is quick. Like, that is lightning fast. So they're going to want to see a repeat of that in this game to keep them in this series.
It can be very snowball-y, but San Francisco, they're undefeated on this map, 6-0-1. They recently were able to dismantle the kind of interesting meta that the Washington Justice were running on this map. They were able to stomp Justice. Recently, they beat Philadelphia Fusion on this map as well, and San Francisco has a really good idea on how they want to play this map. I'd be surprised if both sides don't run kind of the Zen and Mercy with dive tanks, and then you run a Tracer and likely an Ashe or a Widow as well, because the long-range hit scan can really hurt the other team, especially when you're sitting on defense. There's 2 great bridges for both an Ashe and a Widow on point 1, and then point 2, the bridge all the way to the back. It's almost impossible to get there if you're not running dive tanks, and even if you are running dive tanks, you kind of have to take half of the map first and then try to jump on it. So I believe those are the kind of compositions that we're going to see. Striker right now is on the Hanzo, which makes sense on the defense. Tracer on defense can be a little more difficult, and it does seem like San Francisco is actually just going to run a Roadhog and a Sigma here. So the defense, obviously a little bit different. Maybe on offense they'll run dive, but both teams, well, we don't know if San Francisco or Seoul is going to run Bdosin on the Ana. That's generally Creative's role, but Bdosin no slouch himself. So we'll have to see. But San Francisco is locked in with double sniper.
You've got to be scared of Violet's then as well. Just being scared of Violet is normally,
That's a good idea to be scared of Violet.
But just the Discord orbs and how much damage and how much work they do. Not only just squishies, but I'm looking at the tanks here, of course. Gesture and Marvel on the Wrecking Ball and the Hog. With Strike using their Storm Arrows on a target that's discorded, you're basically dead. There's really nothing that's stopping that whatsoever. You have to break LOS just so often, but just because of the nature of the map as well, Shock can basically permanently keep a Discord Orb on a target, as Violet can hold the Mega Room, and you can just peek out every now and then as soon as Dynasty try and touch the point. So someone's always going to be in danger. They do switch over, however, Hex. They're taken away from the Wrecking Ball, actually just going to try and match the Shock. Almost 1-for-1 here, apart from the Ana and the Zen.
Well, so much of this is just going to be about the duel between the Widows and then the duel between the Hanzos as well. Gesture is discorded, so he's going to have to back off. San Francisco is going to allow Fitz to come in here for this angle.
I'd be pretty scared if I was Fitz as well. You can hold some rather interesting angles as the Widowmaker on this map. And yeah, he hears Smurf. There's absolutely no way he doesn't. There we go. Okay, I was wondering if he wanted to try and reveal him there. Just make sure, you know, I know where you are kind of thing. Nice little kill onto Violet, however. Yeah, it's going to get resurrected by Moth. However, look at the space that's been granted here. The Soul are now on the point with the Gesture falling, however. Yeah, that's not a good sign. Striker does take 1 kill as Gesture does get rezzed, but now only 1 healer remains for the Dynasty. Violet in the nice little 1v1 does finish it off with a boot to the head. However, Fitz does find a kill too. So this is Moth now just dueling out with the Mercies. He's got a little bit of backup as well. Marvel rolling in on the Wrecking Ball. Takes them out in the end. So now the Seoul Dynasty, they are players up on the point, and this should just be first being capped.
What a chaotic little skirmish that ended up being. Like about 3 small fights all over the place, but there were a couple times when people had to peek as they were doing those individual skirmishes, and Fitz was able to take advantage of that. He was hitting the shots as people were only showing themselves briefly on small angles. They come in. Now this is why Seoul is sometimes able to just roll over through this map. They have an enormous ultimate advantage right now. Fitz can hit his eyes super quick, and Ons is far away from it, so Infrasight can come through. But it is definitely a defender's advantage map, and Violet nearing a Transcendence as well.
Yeah, you can imagine that's going to get used for the Flux. However, if you can kind of just make sure 1 tank is taken by the Flux, that's perfect. You can kind of double pocket him. It makes it a little bit easier.
Just switched, though. Or did he just use it?
By the way.
Yeah.
No, he just switched to Wrecking Ball and then back again to the Sigma. So, however, just going to open the fight up. There's the Transcendence actually keeping people alive. Not quite alive enough, though. As Smurf gets pushed off the edge, there is a small gap in the back right-hand corner there. If you're not careful, it doesn't get pushed over. Just going to get Nanoed as well. And what a perfect target to Nano. Pushing him on the point, and that's going to be the cap. Seoul Dynasty, not quite fastest like record setting, but 4 minutes and 9 seconds. Yeah, that's looking pretty good.
When San Francisco has been successful on this map, especially on point 2, it's when they're able to get Ons onto the bridge, and then a lot of teams weren't running another sniper against it. They were trying to run Sombras and Faras and Tracers and things like that, so Ons was just getting all these kills on the way in, but now Ons has to play more careful because on the other side of the field, Fitz seems to have warmed up on his own Widowmaker, so San Francisco was never able to get in a position. The Transcendence came out early, but even if you're keeping people alive, they're getting pushed off the point, and then Gesture just able to absolutely clean that up. San Francisco in danger of losing the Volskaya Industries for the first time this year.
Well, we'll see if they can do it quicker or slower, of course. Nice little comment running over a light strike on the Tracer for sure. And oh, by the way, do not forget, I hope you've been saving up your League tokens because the 2020 All-Stars Legendary skins are here. Of course, it is Ryan and Diva this time around. All-Star skins do cost 200 League tokens each, so make sure you get yours ASAP, because after the 12th of October, yeah, they'll be gone off of the League store and unavailable.
I always forget them, but this year I set an alert on my calendar, so I'm not going to forget to buy them. Of course, plenty of opportunities to earn tokens throughout the finals. Well, Seoul, I'm not surprised at all. They want to run a Pharah here on defense.
I think Shock kind of expect that just a little bit with Choi coming out on the Diva, Smurf on the ball to pressure out the back line. Like I said before, I do love a Striker on the Tracer. Can be a 2-man wrecking crew really with this Wrecking Ball, of course. Prophet's going to have to play a little bit more careful. You can see the angle he's taking just farthest away from the Diva as possible, really. And taken to the skies. Just waiting for Smurf and Striker to set up for kills. Here you go. Smurf is going to come in. He does get dynamited and revealed. And his health bar is getting chunked down rather easily. Beautiful sleep by Bdosin. He was so close to going down. Luckily, though, Smurf was there to follow it up. Fitz and Bdosin dead. Prophet in a small room. He's got 70 HP. It is building, however. Shock are in control of the point, but Dynasty seemingly in control of the fight currently as Choi ends up going down. Shock claim 1 tick. Nothing more, however, as Gesture and Prof are able to clean up these kills, and Marvel able to stop that progression from building up. No 2 ticks for the Shock. They're going to have to go once again, especially now Violet's dead.
Prophet's movement is just sublime. There's so many times where you know the Fars on the other side of the map and you don't expect them to come over. The fact that he even checked small pack room for Striker early on and then was able to rotate, then he goes into the room, like, are you kidding me? You don't see Fars do this.
Striker's going to have to come back rather fast, and ideally here, where do you want to put the stick, Hex? Like, you get Bdosin, maybe Marble, and then follow up with some extra damage. Force Tobi to get into a position where he needs to res. Dangerous, of course, would be ideal. Fitz is on the Sombra and is 50%, by the way, towards an EMP already, so not looking too bad for himself there. Striker, with the aid of the sights, does manage to find the stick. Goodbye, Fitz. There's the stick that you wanted. It's not on Bdosin, but it's the next best thing. Flux is going to send people sky high, and Gesture ends up going down after he's antied, and with that nano on Choi, you got to be careful now if you're Prophet. The barrage comes out and ends Moth's life, but Shock with the respawn advantage is going to be able to just get on the point and pressure it out, and with Tobi, yeah, he's in no man's land, basically on the other side of the map. He's not going to last long against the brute force that is the Shock currently. Goodbye, Prophet, as Arndt managed to grapple away from him in the end. They are going to cap point number 1. However, they're running into an EMP now.
Yeah, Fitz should be able to get there too, but too often I see Tobi end up dying to these divas, and he just finds himself in strange positions even when he's got a Pharah escape. I don't know how he ended up getting pushed over to the side room there when he had a Pharah with him still, but that is all in the past now. Bdosin also is going to have a nano for some extra defensive ability here. I'm just looking for Striker to hit a pulse bomb. You know that the supports are generally going to be on this bridge. The Mercy and the Ana like to sit on this back bridge, and if he can get over there on the side, he can hit a stick.
Well, there's the EMP. It hits 3. Smurf, maybe not long for this world. No, he is not. Tobi actually finds the elimination there. Yeah, that'll be it. Goodbye. Goodbye, Choi. And that will be a reset. However, I mean, Fitz, that was perfect, right? You just use EMP and then switch to the hand zone. You've already got a little bit of extra ult charge in the bank as well. So, looking good for the Dynasty's defense. Pulse bomb kills Marble. Maybe not looking so great now. However, Smurf being dragged in and whole hogged is nanoed to make sure he stays alive, and Gesture is equally as nanoed. It's just a trade of nanos to make sure the tanks can stay up. A hook onto Choi. There's the self-destruct to get the remake. However, Arn's going down, and Gesture taking the high ground, using the velocity there from the bomb in order to scale heights. Not something you think a hog could do, but Gesture's hog definitely can. Smurf ends up falling. Violet as well. Nice solid defense from the Soul so far. From the Dynasty so far, sorry.
Yeah, all the way back they have to go in. Now you have to be worried about the chase, and the scrap gun is pretty good at distance on low health targets. Moth's going to go down, and there's a full reset for San Francisco, and they're already way behind in time. You think the best case scenario is for them to cap with about 2 minutes left, and they don't really have enormous impactful ultimates to do it. They're going to make some changes. Choihyobin is going to switch to the Sigma. Striker is going to get off of the Tracer onto the Hanzo, so they're going to mirror each other up now. But this is bad for San Francisco because it means they're definitely behind in ults.
Yeah, I mean, normally you'd want to put the bomb on the payload or the point, right, to try and force a rotation from the enemy team, but it's not really going to do much, especially against the Hog as well, that can just output so much damage. And it can get slept, of course, like you said. Nice little anti-nade on both tanks from the Shock. The Bob is still on the point, though, gaining a little bit of percent, but Gesture's on the sidelines, killing your DPS. Arns is dead. A resurrection from Moth yet again, as Choi was able to body block and actually eat a lot of that whole hog and gain about 1 billion shields. However, they haven't really made any room here at all, Hex. It's just refusing to move. In fact, hooking Choi in and just instantly killing him off. The Shock have 2 minutes remaining, Hex, and they are struggling even just getting through these doors against Gesture.
Well, I do like that Soul is not letting them come in and waiting for it, right? They're fighting right at the gates. Prophet going down is a little rough, but I think Tobi might have a res. Maybe he holds it here because there's really no imminent threat for San Francisco right now.
Nice little, beautiful hook. Actually cancelled the breather. Nice little sleep on Striker, but he was jumping, so he was able to get out of way rather quickly as Bdosin uses that nano on the point, and now it is up to the Shock to try and control all of this space that they've been granted by killing off Gesture. Arns ends up going down as the 1v1 in the backline, as well as Prophet is coming alive as well. Striker also falls, and remember, Seoul Dynasty have spawn advantage too, and they have Marv just kind of sitting in the sidelines. I mean, Smurf's gonna have to push onto the point, same with Choi. They're just building up for this flux, it seems, Hex, and with Moth going down, this is definitely a go-again situation.
Yeah, they have to get out here right now. Seoul's still on the chase, though, trying to get anything they can. You have to be a little bit careful, but even if you lose someone here for Seoul, you're completely fine, because San Francisco's not at fighting force. This is their last push. Oh my god, that's brutal.
This is their last push, and they're not going to be able to finish with time left. It's 30 seconds on the time bank. I mean,
very unlikely.
You cap fully. If everybody just leaves the point and doesn't respawn, great. That's going to be perfect. However, not anymore. Like, you're now in a lose or draw scenario if you're the Shock.
They have to use everything that they have here, and that's a great opener here. You bomb in Nano, maybe Nano Smurf, and push people off the point.
Oh, just dead too. 2 kills for the Shock, and the Flux has been used to make that a third as Marvel ends up going down. Bdosin to follow. The Shock have finally made their mark on this second point as Bob does get rocked off the point. Smurf sitting on the whole hog as well is going to be able to push everybody away. Fitz takes care of Striker, but still a lot of space has been granted. Not so much anymore. Smurf is high in the sky. You got to be careful right now. If you are the Shock, you need to protect your back line. If they go down, it is surely over. Violet is taking a lot of damage. Same with Moth, barely keeping themselves alive, but Marvel is nanoed in the front line, killing the tanks, and that will be it. The Seoul push the Shock off the points and claim the map. The series is not over just yet. It is 2-1, but Shock still sitting on match point.
The first loss on Volskaya Industries of the year for San Francisco is dealt by the Seoul Dynasty. No sweeps today in our first match of the Overwatch League 2020 Grand Finals weekend. I'm happy about it. I just want to cast some more Overwatch, but Seoul just ended up with a lot of superior play. I think that their Ana play was a little bit better, and a lot of the times, Shock are able to bully their opponents. They're able to stick around a lot of the time, so they don't have to do the full retreats, but every time that Shock was trying to leave points, Seoul was chasing them out, and then Moth is trying to fly back in to restart the push, and they get a headshot onto Moth and make sure that they only have one final push. Really well played by Seoul.
That was an unreal angle from Fitz there. That was a little bit ridiculous. Seoul aren't out of the series just yet. Shock still in match point position. However, we're going to jump to a quick break. Do not go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back. This is day number 1 of the Grand Finals. We have Shock facing the Dynasty, and it looked potentially like it was going to be a 3-0 there for the Shock, but no. Volskaya Industries, Seoul proving once again that they can finish the map rather fast. 4 minutes in their time bank and then holding Shock on the second point. They're looking pretty good going into this next map. We're going to Havana.
They definitely looked clean on Volskaya Industries, and that's one of San Francisco's best maps. Now, San Francisco is going to have the map choice by virtue of losing Volskaya, not essentially how you want to get map choices. So we're going to go to Havana, as you mentioned. And Havana for Seoul against Shanghai was a little bit strange. They were able to hold their own on first, but towards the end of it, it seemed like Seoul was a little bit confused on what they wanted to run, if they could run double sniper. Prophet ended up switching to a Genji, which was not ideal. We'll see if we even get that far in Havana, but I think Seoul's first point defense is really interesting. We'll see how we get there. We do have a few subs, though, I think, Jack.
Yes, we do. We've got Super coming back in for the Shock, and Smurf is just taking a back seat for the time being. So yeah, again, maybe some Ryan. Please some Ryan Super. A little bit of Ryan Super would be nice, but it's probably going to be a little bit of the Hog. Yeah. Definitely the Hog.
It seems like they just let Super try to specialize in some of that too. So I mean, Super's played everything. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, it goes to his head. Well, whatever, it happens. It's okay. Cashew Delisi is fine in my book, and he's played a pretty good Hog here. I mean, Jester, I think, is still a little bit more practiced on it, and Jester has had those bigger moments, but Super's playing a completely fine Hog. I would imagine, given that it's Havana, that we're going to see at least one sniper, if not two. Now, if that's ends up being an Ashen Widow or a Widow Hanzo or an Ash Hanzo, I think some variation of that is definitely going to happen on first point. And even through second point, you see a lot of double sniper because of the architecture of that map, where you're able to get up on the distillery and hold a lot of those weird angles. But last time I watched Seoul on this map, it wasn't great, but they were still able to go to third point against Shanghai.
Let's have a look at the fastest map times presented by Xfinity. This one's Havana, of course. And yeah, I was speaking a little bit about it earlier, about completing the maps. You can see the kind of disparity between a lot of them. 2 minutes and 40 seconds is the record currently held by Shock against the Rain. So yeah, not too bad of a time whatsoever. It feels like OT every time we do finish the map on Havana. So yeah, having any time at all is nice, but Shock having 2 minutes and 40. Yeah, that's looking like a speed run. We'll see if they can repeat that. They are an attack first, and we have Seoul on the defense.
It's a very difficult map to complete just because of the natural high ground that's afforded to the defense, and then you have to just kind of walk out in a no man's land on the offense, and if you just don't get picked off by a Widow, you feel pretty comfortable on that. We'll see what these teams would like to run here. Of course, Seoul is on the defense. I just would be stunned if we don't see some sort of variation of long-range hit scan and then another sniper with that. That seems to be the meta that has developed onto Havana. I don't think that Seoul is going to end up running the Brigida, but yeah, I'm willing to be surprised. San Francisco, of course, is on the defense first, so we know what their comp is going to be. Zen Mercy, Sigma Hog, Double Sniper. I think you're going to see this meta play out throughout the entirety of the playoffs here.
Oh yeah, my bad. I thought it was Shock attacking first, but it's, yes, Seoul Dynasty.
That's all good. Happens.
Double Sniper on the defense. I love the Zen too. I mean, just anything that's got a lot of range here is obviously going to be rather beneficial for you, and then you can kind of back around the corner and then use the Sigma Shield. No forward hold like we see a lot during the season. Hex, I do love a good forward hold on Havana, but not today, especially not with this comp. But holding a different angle than you'd normally see.
Yes, this is actually what Seoul does as well. They kind of squat up a little bit, and they put 3 people on the right side, and you're not really going to fight corner. You're going to let the offense come in on the corner because your Widow is very likely holding an off angle here. So everyone's going to be on this left side. I think off screen to your right now on screen side is where Ons is sitting. Yes.
Makes a lot
so
more
you
sense
have this
there.
crossfire. You have this crossfire, and you let the offense come in a little bit rather than trying to just brute force it at the corners.
And if the Widow holds this side, it's just easy rotation. Speaking of rotations, oh my word, that's a lot of damage. That's a nice little seat there by Bdosin. Fitz and Tobi end up finding kills of their own. However, both healers now down for the shot.
Better kills, yeah, better kills.
Yeah, is a big... they need to be able to kill Bdosin here. They just have to get him. Yeah, there we go. Eventually managed to find the kill. If they didn't find him there, Seoul Dynasty could have easily regrouped to 6. And
but I think
even now, they have to play a little bit more safe here.
Yeah, they have to give up that spot. So, yes, it was a trade, but it definitely favors the offense as they're able to get around the corner here. San Francisco's set defense is now in a completely different position. They're going to try to run a crossfire again, but much further back.
There's so many nice angles here, of course, on the side. Prophet hiding on the stairs. Stops them from really going the high ground and being able to kind of take it over. I mean, putting a hog up there is just so nice. You can kind of just fish for hooks on the tanks. It's come to a little bit of a halt, this offense now for the Dynasty. Looks like they're just waiting for potentially an ult here from Prophet to try and split the shock up.
Striker's hoping for the same, just to be able to end up dragoning the cart here.
Slowly but surely moving it. Fitz activating his Imposites a little bit earlier. Very early Valkyrie, actually, from Tobi here too. Beautiful kill onto Choi. Nice little bit of extra damage there. Piled in with the right click from Tobi. And Super end up falling as well. Transcendence on the point from Violet. But are they going to be able to really do anything? That Transcendence isn't really going to help the squishies at all, as they can just get insta-killed via a headshot. Gesture is nanoed. Super is dead. And point number 1 is going to go over to the Dynasty, as the shock end up getting routed.
Well, the Transcendence was trying to cover for a res, but that res didn't end up doing anything there. It's just when you're resurrecting against double sniper, you're just resing them into the firing squad yet again. But it's also because Violet wanted to switch off heroes. On the second point, you want to have an Ana on this defense so that you can sit a little bit further back, make sure everyone's healed, because everyone's going to be playing different angles. Mostly where you see Choi right now, that's Sigma's spot. He holds that, and then the snipers are going to take left side and middle if need be. Nice hook.
What an unbelievably timed combo there from Super and Violet. The hook straight into the nade. Works perfectly every time. Uh-oh! Oh yep. No, Gesture's been found out. Yeah, that Sonic Arrow did a whole bunch of work there from Striker, revealing Gesture, who tried to go on another cheeky flank.
No, but you almost didn't even need the arrow. That's where Gesture always goes on second. Life after life after life, Gesture always tries to get that angle.
I mean, you get behind them, one hook, one kill, and then you just use your breather to get away. I mean, it's easy peasy, right? Or at least that's what they tell me. Not quite so easy when you're against someone like Striker and the rest of San Francisco Shock, to be fair. Nail onto Marble as they do try and move this payload on. The worst thing about Shock's comp here, of course, is they can't really aggressively hold this this point. Arns is on just a ridiculous flank. Oh no, he's been found out. Oh, 1v1, Widow in the corridor. Oh, he goes down to Venomine, the most dishonest kill. Got it, the SMG is more honest than the Venomine kill from Fitz there. I mean, like for like too in Prophet, killing Striker as well. And yeah, Shock say goodbye to second point as well, as the Dynasty, they're looking to put this one in.
I just love that the Dynasty have adapted over the couple of weeks that they've had off, because they've really struggled on Havana before, but now they've really come into their own, running this double hits, or this double sniper.
We're going to have to do something here. Striker and Arns are already dead. Arns gets resurrected as Super ends up biting the dust too. The whole hog kill did come through, and a nice body block from Marble to make sure that Rock doesn't hit the resurrecting Mercy. Choi dead. The rest of the Shock are going to follow him as well. Maybe Moth finds a kill in the Val. Maybe not. Tobi ends up with the melee kill. And that will be point number 2 completed as well. Almost in record time here. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Moving the way to third. But the most treacherous point of the map is yet to come.
The meta just suits Seoul Dynasty much better than it did previously, because Marvel's Wrecking Ball was not always great. He was feeding a lot on it, and Fitz trying to run Sombra was not always great either. Now Fitz gets to play one of his best heroes. Marvel gets to play absolutely his best hero in Sigma, and it's working out really well for Seoul as they continue to push.
Oh my word!
Filthy.
Storm arrows from Prophet. Playoffs Prophet, they call him that for a reason. Striker does get rezzed, but they still just gain so much space from just that single kill. Yeah. Seoul have been playing so aggressive on this map, Hex. Every single time Shock try and set up like a little tent to kind of camp in, they say no. We just kind of run at them with nanos and the hogs. Super gets dragged all the way in. They do trade his life for Prophet, but maybe a little bit more here as well, as Marble does use that flux to push themselves forward. Striker's also dead. This is a ridiculous time here from the Seoul Dynasty, moving on to third point.
Yeah, and Seoul did a really great job of making sure that San Francisco had to come out and play them because Prophet just kept leaping over that wall and taking pot shots. Now Gesture's got the off angle. Seoul can continue to push this through Gateway, and now all the defender's advantage is gone. It's gone, Jack.
I may have cast a curse. Arn's just a little bit. I was saying he was probably one of the best Widowmakers in the world, but Fitz has got so much just assistance, just in terms of pressure from the rest of his team. He's able to just do whatever he wants, basically. Choiy with a nice flux, though. That's 2 kills, but Gesture's going to get a little bit more. He's nanoed and antied. He's going to be able to get his breather off as well. Goodbye, Moth. That's Gesture's 3rd kill. The Dragons land on the point, and Arn SMG's Gesture to death. And luckily enough, though, Violet was able to spawn and get to the payload quick enough. Super comes back on ball to stall for some additional time as well. They're not really going to need it, however, as Seoul are eventually wiped out. But still, 1 minute and 30 seconds remains for them to regroup and go for another push.
Prophet is just running this Storm Arrow to perfection. He's got 8 Storm Arrow kills compared to 3 from Strikers. Prophet's Hanzo has leveled up. He is leading the server in eliminations and final blows.
That's what you want to see if you're a Dynasty fan. You knew it was going to be a tough battle. Oh, Prophet, if you messed that one up, fortunately, mate, you'd end up in the drink. It's not something you'd want to see on the highlight tapes, that is for sure.
They're trying to take over this high ground.
Cover here. Or attempting to, we should say. It's a little bit more harder than it normally seems. Or the 1v1, oh, Arns with a disrespect. Oh, he tries to go for the Mega Man, no, Fitz steals it and gets the melee kill on him. And now Fitz can just basically reign free. Super does come up with a kill onto Prophet as they do try and push in. The res was good as the Valkyrie was popped from Tobi, and a nice little hook into a shot. Another kill for Gesture. He is absolutely on fire on the hog, and he's receiving all the support in the world as well. The nanos, the damage boost, just everything that Seoul can throw at him. They're throwing at him. 15 seconds remains in their time bank as well as they complete Havana.
It's a hard map to finish, but Seoul had the absolute correct strategy every time. I mean, just using the wall climb for Prophet on the left side, that left side is what you have to take, because otherwise the Hanzo and the Widow are just going to sit up there. Left side from the offensive perspective, obviously it's right in the center of your screen right now. That ledge you have to take, especially when you're coming in, because just look at all of the space that it's able to cover, and you just take too much damage, and Seoul did a great job of taking that over and forcing San Francisco to come out.
We've got another epic surprise to you guys. Coke Energy is rewarding all viewers for another bonus hour by boosting you with 3x Overwatch League tokens when you watch on overwatchleague.com and the Overwatch League app as well. Now you can load up and get those new All-Stars skins, the Reinhardt and the Diva, of course. And Coke Energy comes in 4 delicious flavors. Coke Energy, 0 sugar, cherry, 0 sugar. And there's about the same amount of caffeine in a can than there is in a 12-ounce cup of drip coffee. So fueled up, ready to go, ready to jump into queue, or just ready to sit down for a long night of some Overwatch.
I gotta say I do prefer the cherry. 0 sugar cherry. It's very tasty.
That's what I'm drinking right now.
That's what I'm drinking right now too. I have the evidence. I'm on film drinking it.
True. True. All right. Okay. I had some shots of me drinking it as well a bit later.
I think just Seoul just played that really well. I mean, even after they were able to push in, it was just so annoying for San Francisco early on that they had to go out too far, and then Seoul punished them for trying to go out because they just couldn't deal with Prophet otherwise. We'll see if Seoul is running this squatted up defense. It does seem like they are. You're going to have the Sigma on the left side, your Widows on that left side, the rest of the squad on the right.
Nice kill from Arn to start off the fight, a resurrection, and there's another kill. Goodbye Gesture, and goodbye Bdosin, and goodbye Seoul Dynasty. That will be it. That's double sniper. That is literally just double sniper in a nutshell. Arns finds 1 kill, Striker finds another 1 shot, and then Arns finds another one after the res came through, and that will be it. That's the first corner completed. Second corner coming up, and Seoul Dynasty are going to be able to touch, luckily enough. But let's have a look at Arns and what... I mean, look at this. He knows exactly where, and it looks like he's shooting through the plant there as well. Of course, most players do play on low settings, and I can't remember if that plant is there on low settings or not. But sometimes they're not. And goodbye, Marvel, and that will be point number 2. Oh, completed. Oh, Fitz is going to take the shot. There's one. Misses the next. Oh, Moth comes in. Takes the bullet to the brain. Fitz on the flank of a lifetime. Takes out 2 members from the San Francisco Shock. but the Shock is still on the payload. The Dynasty do need to actually get back on there and stop this whole hog from going off. You can see the Hanzo trying to duck dive and dodge around it, but Super's whole hog's going to be good enough for the time being. Luckily though, Fitz is there with the kill on him, as they do manage to hold on to this first point.
What an excellent display of patience there too, because if you're sitting there, you're thinking shoot the Ana. But Ana's got a weird hitbox. She's got a strange hunched over hitbox, and it doesn't feel super reliable.
Definitely does as well. Just saying.
I know, but it's maybe a little bit better. He takes the shot,
True.
Then he's able to take down the Mercy as well. Fitz is playing some of his best Overwatch on one of his better heroes.
Ooh, nice little headshot. Dug behind the payload now. He knows exactly where Fitz is, but Choi is already dead. That Flux with the Dragons, you're jumping. Well, you go back down to earth with half HP, and then instantly the Dragons kill you off. Oh, delivery system again. Gesture gets downed as soon as he's hooked in, and there goes Super. Another Flux is coming out. Gesture's going to be able to heal through most of this damage, however. No DPS now available for the Shock, and a resurrection onto Profit brings back both DPS now for the Dynasty. So they're just forcing the Shock out and turning their health bars into old charge for themselves. They're actually trying to force this situation out. I mean, they're even nanoing Choihyobin forwards, and Marvel's just going to be able to back off. I'm not sure that nano is really worth it, as they're not going to be able to find all too much.
It was not. I mean, Seoul is just using the nano just to keep Gesture alive. Every time Gesture gets anti-healed, that's when they're using the nano. And then it allows him to save his breather for when he gets Flux. That's why he's able to live through that Flux. They just know when to use the resources on the most important piece of this puzzle for Seoul, which is Gesture.
Profit just kills two. Okay, Violet and Super are dead. 50 seconds remains now for the Shock, and the DPS for Seoul are just coming alive almost instantaneously. I mean, now Fitz and Profit have ult. Marvel Gesture too. They're looking at almost a complete 6. Playoffs Profit has entered the building. He's joined the server. The Shock might just go down here, and that will lead straight onto a map number 5. Reverse sweep potential for the Seoul Dynasty if they manage to hold the Shock here on first.
I mean, it's... Profit only reaches his final form when he goes down 0-2 apparently. Gets Violet. This is brutal. San Francisco's not even going to be able to fight this properly.
They're going to have to change over to ball or something. 10 seconds remains and they need to touch the payload. It's already rolling back. There you go. Super had to give up his whole hog in order to get back to the point in time using the Wrecking Ball, but he's not going to be able to. He's going to get whole hogged off, and the Rock was going to be there as well. And the Seoul Dynasty have taken Havana and tied this series up 2-2.
Seoul has come back in the most astounding way possible, because Seoul, I thought, when I looked at them on Havana, it was one of their worst maps against Shanghai. They didn't play it well, they didn't have a good beat on it. Again, that's against Shanghai, so it's really kind of hard to tell. And then they take Volskaya from San Francisco, who was dominating North American teams on Volskaya, hadn't lost it all year. And Seoul, you're absolutely right. I mean, it comes down to playoff Profit has absolutely entered the building. But I do think that taking Fitz off of Somber, which they played all year, and taking Marvel off of Hammond, which they played a lot, and putting them on some of their best heroes has been such a boon for Seoul. It seems like they've been in the lab, they've been in the workshop, they've been grinding this meta, and hey man, we got what we wanted. We're going to map 5.
All the way to map number 5. Seoul, they've set their sights on the reverse sweep. We're going to jump to a quick break, guys. Do not go anywhere. We got map 5 coming up soon.
Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile.
The Shock complete their journey. And the Seoul Dynasty are advancing alongside the San Francisco Shock.
I am lit, I'm that dude. You ain't you just do. I'm no trick, I'm a fool. And I hit like a tool. I am raw, sushi food. Keep on talking, lose my cool. Ain't that type to be moved. Wanna fight, MH2.
Do I have any words for Seoul? Nah, not really. I kind of just would prefer to let the play do the talking.
저는 북미 팀이 그렇게 강하다고 생각하지 않기 때문에 이번에 아시아 팀의 위력을 꼭 보여주고 싶네요. 작년 쇼크는 정말 무서운 팀이었는데 올해는 별로 무섭다는 생각은 들지 않네요.
이빨을 숨기고 있던 호랑이 같습니다.
옛날에는 호랑이처럼 보였지만 지금 보니 고양이네요.
Let him know, baby. That was just deadly. Oh my, don't go for one more. Disgusting. This is the Prophet show now.
Prophet continues to pick up kill after kill.
This guy is a god.
쇼크 선수들 이제 저희랑 경기에서 잘 하려면 이제 빨리 시차 적응해서 잘 오셔야 될 것 같아요.
서울이 트위터에 상화이랑 좀 다시 만나고 싶다 했는데 아마 그 전에 저희가 좀 떨어뜨리고 오히려 저희가
대희 형 보고 있어? 대희 형 우리가 이길게. 미안해. 고마워.
Our expectations as a team is to win. I didn't get on a plane for 13 hours to come here to lose. I don't have any other expectations besides that.
전 단연히 무조건 우승이라 생각하고 있고 우승까지 할 수 있도록 꼭 노력해야죠.
프로배 서울을 보여드리겠습니다.
아시아 팀들도 잘하지만 그렇게 자신 있으면 저희 한번 먼저 이겨보시고 그때 얘기하시는 게 하던 대로 머리를 잘 뚫어주면 이기지 않을까.
이번 시즌에는 작년에 못 이겼던 팀들도 다 이기고 있으니까 쇼크도 충분히 할만하다고 생각합니다.
Good on them for being able to maintain their confidence, but I think we'll be alright.
I don't know. I hope they play their best and we'll have a great match.
Good.
It's all tied up 2-2 even. Map number 5 on your screens momentarily. We're heading over to Busan. We've got, well, Super. We know he's the finisher, but he's actually stepping away for this time. We've actually got Smurf coming in for the San Francisco Shock. And, well, Hex, we talked about it a little bit earlier on, and actually before the cast even started, and I said, I really hope this goes all the way, of course, but I didn't really see Seoul taking this many maps off of the Shock. But Prophet has come alive. Gesture has come alive, but like the entirety of the roster has come alive. Fitz as well on the Widowmaker. That patience that we saw when he was behind enemy lines, lining up kills on the Widowmaker without Shock knowing. Like, this is the Soul that we really wanted to see. It's like playoff Soul. It's really got that kind of ghostly feeling from London Spitfire 2018, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, this, how can you not love Overwatch? How can you not love Overwatch? We're going to 5, starting 2-0, look top league, Soul's able to pull it back. I mean, look, this series so far has been phenomenal. Seoul picked Volskaya into San Francisco, which I thought was a mistake. San Francisco picked Havana, which Seoul hasn't looked great on. I mean, just so many things have gone right. And you're right, it's the players that we didn't necessarily expect from Seoul stepping up. Because when I look at Seoul, I see like 4 really, really good players, and sometimes there's some questions. And those questions I have are usually about Fitz and Marvel. And they have played out of their minds thus far. We're going to Busan, and I mentioned in the break, Jack, I'm like, please bring us to Mecha Base. Please bring us to Mecha Base. Because Seoul has this great strategy on Mecha Base where they run a perfect crossfire. Very likely, I don't know, I hope we see it. It's an Ashe and a Widow, and then you run Gesture on a Hog, and then you have, usually it was creative, but no, Bdosin is in, and they set up the Ashe on the stairs, the Widow in the window, and you just put this perfect crossfire. Gesture will be on the point to make sure that no one can come at him, and then Marvel will free roam on the other side. So I've seen Seoul do this before. If they can get it set up, it is beautiful in action. But let's go, map 5. What a way to kick off our Grand Finals weekend.
Doors opened, and there it is. The TP forward, and Fitz setting up on the Widowmaker exactly how you predicted. However, still, Strike on Traitor is not something to scoff at, that is for sure. But Marvel just helping them take the high ground here, so yeah, the setting up is truly in progress right now. Smurf, yeah, I don't think he expected any of this damage coming in. Ace picks up the mini pack there, stops him from
No,
burning.
and they're set up. This is exactly what you want. You have your damage boosted Ashe on the stairs, Widow is in the window, and that's what happens, because now you're stuck in the corner, you can't do anything. Prophet answers back.
Yeah,
It's going to res this, though.
Protect that res, though. And Moth ends up going down. No resurrection and hardly any heals now for the shot. The tank's going to have to play rather scared, or not quite as scared as Smurf is playing currently. Marvin's going to be able to dash back to the rest of his team. However, the point has been unlocked, and Seoul Dynasty were capping it there for a brief moment. They kind of let it go for just a second for just pressure on the front line. They do end up killing Smurf, of course, and no one willing to take the point just yet. Striker in the back, he's earned himself a pulse, forced to do the recall though, and back towards the point and just trying to punish the tanks. The sticky goes out, Gesture dodges out the way, and Arns comes alive. Fitz is dead, and the Transcendence from Joy keeping everybody alive. It looks so good actually for Dynasty to start this engagement off and then start this map off as well. But no, the Shocker coming back. They do manage to cap the point, find the res onto the healer as well, and they're back at almost full fighting force.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice what San Francisco's doing to counter this, is that they're just continually harassing Prophet and his healers with him. And so it's just Striker, and now Prophet has to bail out of there, and then it means that Fitz has to try to take the shot, and that opens Ons up to hit that shot. We're seeing a beautiful chess match on Control here.
Only 10% was acquired as well. Kind of sad. It's all about that setup as well, Hex. It's going to be a little bit harder at this point, especially with Choi with the Flux too. If he knows where Fitz and Prophet are, you can just almost solo Flux them. I think it will be worth it. Gesture with the hook. There's the kill onto Arns, and now Fitz can basically be free as a bird. Using the sights also to make sure his team know where everybody is. Gesture already knows though in the small room, takes two with him as the Flux comes out. Choi using his Flux, couldn't even get the whole cast off in fact. He ends up falling to Fitz of all people, and Seoul ends up gapping the point.
Ons has to be careful here. Yeah, picked off.
Pancaked.
So we'll see if Seoul wants to go for this setup now that they have the point. It's a little bit easier because Gesture can now fall back instead of trying to play point and protect that back line.
Oh, there's the mines in the back. Oh my goodness, how did they escape alive? I do not know. Smurf is in a very precarious position though. Striker almost gets run over too. There's the backline engagement, however it is paid in kind. As Arns falls, but Marvel falls afterwards. It's all about Seoul now, just trying to stall at this point and just keeping Prophet alive. There's one kill, there's another, and Prophet is falling pretty low as the Shock do manage to take control.
Violet has had clutch kill after clutch kill. I mean, the very first kill that he got to start off the map really made Seoul think twice, and then he gets a kill on a, I believe it was Moth across, or excuse me, Tobi across the map. Fitz has to go to Sombra here, trying to play a Widow into an established Widow position can be very, very difficult, so he's just going to switch it up. They would like to get a hack onto Smurf and just punish him because he's just been running roughshod over the back line.
He's actually jumped over to the Sombra. He's had enough of the Widowmaker, it seems. A nice hack onto Choi, but Violet again, Hex, is going to find yet another kill. But Gesture lays waste to him, and a hook into the sky as well. He didn't have bullets, but the melee was enough with the nano boost damage as well. Gesture is just unbelievable on this hog. Another kill, actual solo carry from Gesture currently. Prophet is fighting on the point. He's got Bob, doesn't want to use it. A nice hack onto Striker will make sure Seoul cap the point yet again.
Well, it's one more fight, though, for San Francisco. They're going to have a Transcendence as a defensive tool. Flux will probably be the opener they want, and they're going to have whatever they want as far as angles go, because there goes Infrasight for Ons.
Transcendence available for the Shock too. I mean, this is final fight realistically right now. Bdosin in trouble, but does manage to get away, at least for now. Fitz holding on to, well, not quite unlocking the EMP just yet, but he's going to want to hold on to it and try and find Violet. That's the key target for him, if they can build it up, that is. Bdosin's already dead. Arns gets jumped on, and the Transcendence used to push them forward. Gesture going pretty low as Fitz is stunned up and can't make it back to the point, and now is just Shock just bundling on. Seoul Dynasty have to be able to touch right now. They got 96%, but Shock are now 99. Marvel ends up going down. Someone needs to touch, but no one does. Tobi was flying in towards, I believe, Fitz, but wasn't able to touch the point in time. And Shock, they find round number 1. Seoul Dynasty right now, Hex, need the complete reverse sweep. They need to take these next 2 stages back to back to secure the series.
Well, and if you just think about our very first control map of the evening, Seoul always looked good. They were in the lead, and San Francisco was just able to clutch it out on the economy at the end. Had Seoul been able to touch and stall that out, I believe Fitz would have gotten an EMP, and who knows what happens after that. I think we're going to see similar setups here. No, this very likely is going to be a Seoul Farah.
Oh, here
Here's
it is.
the try to touch. Marble goes down.
Marble's dead, and then it just... Oh, you can see the Mercy flying in.
Yeah.
Tobi. What a shame.
Okay, Seoul goes back to Farah. Not a surprise.
And if Fitz can just deal with Arns here, which, to be honest with you, Arns doesn't look all too high over the last couple of maps. It seemed like after the second map, he kind of shut down. And if he can do the same to Arns here, I mean, that's perfect for them, because there's nothing to stop Prophet from doing all this damage.
Well, we have the Violet Bap now. It is the most aggressive and most offensive Baptiste you will find in the league.
Point is unlocked. Shock looking for the cap. Can enemy touch from Seoul to stop this from going through? No, they cannot. You see that Prophet was trying all he might to try and get Striker off the point, but you have recall. If you haven't forced the recall from the Tracer, she's going to be more than safe to just do whatever she pleases around the point. Prophet now, eyes in the sky or eyes on the backline. The Immortality Field comes out and Prophet forced to retreat. Can't go too far down. Oh my goodness. Violet's jumping up to him. He's going to melee him if he's not careful, but is actually punished for it. When way too aggressive, sometimes there's such thing as over-aggression. Bdosin ends up falling too, as the point is still in contestation, as Shock were able to get onto it at least, but now Striker's cleaning on up. Gesture finds the kill onto Choi, but Prophet takes out Moth, and they're still in control somehow. Eventually, they get it, but an extra 10-15% was what they bought for themselves.
I just can't believe Violet can even jump that high. Like, you know, the weight of his guts got to be weighing him down with that one. You said there's such a thing as over-aggression. I don't think Violet knows that. I mean, it's just the way he plays. It's why he is what he is. He almost gets the kill. That's a huge open. It is a huge open.
Can they actually res it up? You see this timer going up. It doesn't look like they can, and that barrage on the point, clearing the mind. At this point, Prophet almost goes down to him, in fact. Striker's going to follow up with the kill.
Violet!
There we go. Another double kill. He's not playing heals at all, Hex. He has not hit a right click once, apart from these ones. It feels like he's just permanently on the offensive.
No, no, that's Moth's job. Violet's playing better
heal,
76, as he's sometimes referred to. Like, just his accuracy, his aim. This is what we expect out of Violet. Yes, he's played a lot of Zen lately, but if you remember, middle of the season, his bat play set the standard of what Baptiste play should be.
Comes with a headshot cross map, and he's going to be so safe here too, mind you. However, here comes Gesture once again, the carry for Seoul, turning it up. Moth dead, Arn's dead, Choi dead, goodbye Shock on the point now. The Seoul Dynasty forcing this one out, but the Shock once again, like, they're at 70% now. This is 2-fight territory, and maybe a little bit more too, actually, because they can stall forever. Your Tracer and Wrecking Ball on this point. 4 melees for Prophet to eventually kill Striker, and he just keels on over as Arns peeks his head around the corner and takes it clean off.
I mean, yes, he's res, but that means res is down right now, too. San Francisco, again, with a pretty good ultimate setup here. They're going to have Flux, they're going to have Pulse Bomb, which could absolutely singly win a fight. Moth also with a Valkyrie. It's hard to Valk on this map when you've got Widowmakers on both sides, but makes you a little bit more elusive.
God, I love the way Gesture's playing. He's just hiding behind as bigger object as he can find to try and find a flanking whatever, just a Smurf, Choi, Violet, Arn, Striker, Pulse Bomb on the side. Prophet does go for it, does miss it. Striker sends out a Pulse Bomb of his own, finds Bdosin. Now Tobi's going to go down as well. Soul have no healers left. But it doesn't matter because Gesture's alive. If Gesture's alive as well, alive and well, this fight is not over. Violet eventually finishes him off, but end up taken down by Marvel, but right now, the Shock, if they manage to cap here, Seoul are on 1-fight territory. 80% now in building for the Shock, and they've got ults to spare, Hex.
Well, San Francisco's not going to be surprised by anything either, because Infrasight is going to be up for Ons, and they have both tank ultimates. The tank ultimates are enormous here, because Seoul has to come back. They're going to have to come back into a minefield, and even if they get there, Choihyobin could lift them off the point to win this series.
They mines on the point to get the touch as well. Arn's in trouble, but not for long, so he grapples to the skies. And now it is up to the Shock, maybe to try and even flux them off. OT is taken down, someone has to touch, someone has to touch! Soul don't end up touching the payload again, the point is gone! And the San Francisco Shock are just gonna do it! The Wrecking Ball was coming in, but again, just not enough time was remaining and Seoul end up going down on Busan. And the Shock end up taking the series 3-2, sorry. Oh my word.
What an absolutely heartbreaking way to lose a series that Seoul had clawed their way back into. Whew. I expected this to be a different match. I was happily surprised with what we got. I mean, look, San Francisco is still in a very good position, even if they do touch, but it's still, that one hurts. If you want to take some solace as a Seoul fan, they've looked really, really good. They brought it to 5 against, you know, of course, all of these teams are some of the best in the world, but I think the performances you saw out of some of the people from Seoul that you don't expect to see out of big, but that one is gonna sting. But look, it's double elimination, so if you're Seoul, move on, forget about it. You have to forget about it, because Seoul is a team that I feel like will let that eat at them, but they have to get coached out of it to not touch the point there. Brutal. San Francisco, I mean, Seoul gave them everything they could handle, but San Francisco able to pull it out in the end. What a set. What a set.
A close series in the end, 3-2. North America #1 seed taking down the APAC #2 seed. We have Arns is your Xfinity player of the match as well. The Widowmaker extraordinaire. I mean, he had a little bit more of a rougher series towards the end of it, but still coming up on the Ash, especially early on. I mean, you put this guy on any long-range hit scan, and he is just going to excel.
Well, almost every time we cast San Francisco Shock, which we've been lucky enough to do very many times this year, you say, well, you could pick pretty much anyone. And you could. We've selected Ons because I think his Widow forces the other team to play Widow. It forces maybe Seoul to not play the Pharah as much as they'd like. It forces Prophet onto Tracer. Prophet's not a bad Tracer, but he's the best Pharah in the world, in my opinion. So Ons just makes an enormous impact on the field. Fitz was able to hang with him step by step, but I think when I think about Ons, I think he's a natural sniper. He puts the fear of God into other teams, into other Widowmaker players, and he has an impact without firing a shot.
Yeah, that's scoped crit hit accuracy as well, looking rather fresh. 33%, not too bad whatsoever. Oh my word, it was going to be a tough series for sure for the Seoul Dynasty. I mean, you're going up against the San Francisco Shock, but taking 2 maps and then, you know, narrowly losing the Busan. Yeah, you did C9 a couple of times there. Well, I would say Mecha Base was less of a C9, more just like you're just losing the war of attrition at the end.
Right.
But you can definitely be proud of yourself. And like you said, Hex, lower bracket is theirs right now. They can still make it all the way. There's going to be more tough competition later down the line, though.
It is an issue that they have to work on. Like I said, you forget about it if you can. For Seoul, of course, Seoul will now move to the lower bracket. The San Francisco Shock will move on. We still have more Overwatch coming up too, but for Seoul, I've seen it happen to them in series before in small ways, where if something gets in their head, they stop talking, they stop playing to their strengths, and I've seen them fall apart in map 5s before. They have to get over that. They have to get it coached out of them. I don't know if this was necessarily that, but you still have a shot. You can't let this match get to you. There's so many positives to take away from Seoul that you can't let it get to you. But for the Shock, I think you're happy with the win, and there's things to fix and things to move forward. But look, you're still the one moving on in an exceptional set of Overwatch.
Yeah, an exceptional 4 teams as well, of course, making it to the Final 4. We have Shanghai Dragons up against the Philadelphia Fusion coming in a little bit. I mean, Shanghai have just looked unbelievable this entire year, and I think a lot of people have actually pegged them as the winners of this year as well.
Yeah, but I mean, you think about it, like, yes, they've looked unbelievable, but Seoul took them to 5. Like, that's, you know, that's how Seoul ended up going to the lower bracket in the APAC region. They took Shanghai to 5, and it took another control map and some mistakes from Seoul. I think Seoul could have won that series. I think they should have won Kings Row. I think they probably could have won the very last match, but they fell apart a little bit mentally there, which is my only concern with Seoul moving forward. You just have to, you forget about it and move on. But yeah, you're right. Shanghai, what, 5 role stars on that team? I think It's absurd. Like that is a straight up all-star team all the way through. They can play everything. You've got the MVP on that team in Flutta. We're in for a treat, Jack.
Oh yes we are, and of course they are the #1 APAC seed going up against the #2 seed in the Philadelphia Fusion as well, and a couple of role stars there too, and a Rookie of the Year in Alarm as well. I'm excited to see it, that is for sure. We've got an interview coming up momentarily. We're just kind of waiting to set that one up, and then we should be jumping over with Arns as well. So that'll be nice to hear what he has to say about the series. And let's quickly touch on that once again, Hex, because Seoul, yes, they did look, I would say, rather scrappy. There were a lot of fights, on Volskaya especially. I mean, it's 15 fights happening at once, and it can be rather chaotic at times. Yeah. But that's sometimes where your DPS are going to thrive, right? Especially people like a Striker on the Tracer, is where Tracer kind of lives and breathes, right, in these chaotic atmospheres, and where if you're blowing cooldowns accidentally, yeah, the Tracer is going to be on top of you over and over again. Seoul, we're going to have a tough fight. However, with Shock being able to flex up to basically seemingly anything that they can come up with, and we actually heard McGravy earlier on to add more weight to this. If Krusty downloads your team, good luck. Yes. Game over for you. Like, at this point, I think there's not much Shock are going to be surprised with.
One of the best coaches in the league, obviously. I think that Krusty's going to make some adjustments, and I think Shock's going to look even better next time we see them.
Oh, absolutely. Doesn't look like we've got an interview, though. We've got Arns with Danny Lim. You guys take it away.
Thank you very much, Josh and Hex. What is up, everybody? Danny Lim here, and I am here with Ons from San Francisco Shock. Everybody, virtual round of applause. 자, 다들 박수 한번 쳐주시고요. 안 선수, 일단 오늘 승리하신 거 너무나도 축하드립니다. 일단 인사 한 말씀 부탁드릴게요. Please say hello to everybody.
Hello guys. 안녕하세요. 샌프란시스코 쇼크에서 안수로 활동하고 있는 이선창이라고 합니다. 반갑습니다.
And congratulations on your big win. I know you're feeling very good right now because of this win. I'm just gonna jump right into the question. You know, coming into grand finals, you know, because of the meta, we're seeing a lot more snipers like Widow and so on and so forth. And also because this was your first Overwatch League season and also your grand finals, did you feel any pressure or were you nervous at all coming to your first match in the grand finals? 첫 번째 질문을 일단 하자면 안수 선수 쉽게 말씀드리면은 좀 어떻게 좀 긴장이나 부담감이 있으셨나요? 아무래도 안수 선수는 이번 오버워치 리그 시즌이 처음이기도 하고 또 그걸로 인해서 또 그랜드 파이널도 처음이고 또 게다가 이번 메타가 조금 더 스나이퍼를 좀 많이 사용하는 메타이기 때문에 조금 뭐 부담감이나 긴장감 뭐 이런 건 없으셨나요?
좀 중요한 경기라고 생각을 하면은 제가 긴장을 좀 많이 하는 편이기 때문에 이제 똑같이 연습처럼 제 실력을 보여주기 위해서는 긴장을 안 해야 되기 때문에 이제 그냥 평소처럼 최대한 심호흡을 하면서 이제 마인드 컨트롤을 하고 있어요.
Alright, so I am one of those people that gets pretty nervous when it comes to like really important matches. So in order for me to not to get so nervous during the matches, you know, I had to really practice and I put in a lot of thought into that, and that's what I'm trying to do for the grand finals right now. 안 선수 지금 sorry, let me talk in English first. You seem pretty calm right now. Are you not feeling that hype right now from winning that match? 지금 이긴 거 치고는 굉장히 지금 좀 이렇게 조용하신 것 같은데 좀 이렇게 막 기쁘거나 그러진 않나요 지금?
일단 좀 간단하게 말씀드리자면 제가 원하던 팀원들과 합과 제 실력이 나와주지 않아서 일단 경기는 이겼지만 딱히 만족은 못 하고 있어요.
Alright, you know, the fact is, you know, although we did get the win right now, I feel like, you know, the playstyle or how I played, how I performed in this match against Seoul Dynasty wasn't really up to par of how I really wanted to perform in our first match. So, you know, I'm not sad, but I'm really glad that I won the match, but you know, I feel like I could have really done better. Ons, I feel like everyone would agree with me. You did great. You did really great on your first match. 오늘 뭐 다들 다 똑같이 생각하겠지만은 안 선수 굉장히 잘하셨고요. 너무 슬퍼하지 마세요. 굉장히 잘하셨습니다. 너무나도 멋있었어요. You were really good. You really popped off. All right. Let's talk about this match right now. Against Seoul Dynasty. It was a really close match. You guys really took it all the way through. Did San Francisco Shock or you? Did you prepare anything specific to go against Seoul Dynasty? 이번 서울과 지금 경기를 하기 전에 그랜드파이널로 들어오면서 좀 서울과 경기를 위해서 좀 특별하게 준비한 게 있다면 뭐가 있을까요?
일단 저희 팀에 이제 메인 탱커를 플레이하는 슈퍼 선수랑 이제 똑같은 스머프 선수가 있는데 그 호그들의 플레이 스타일에 약간 장단점과 약간 어우러질 수 있는 조합들을 다양하게 활용하면서 준비한 것 같아요.
그러니까 좀 탱커 위주로 좀 준비를 많이 했다?
네네.
네. Alright, so what we really focused on was our tank line. Specifically Super and Smurf who were playing. Super was playing Hog and Smurf was, playing other tanks. We sort of played around with our Hog playstyle specifically, so we sort of practiced a lot for a match against Seoul Dynasty by utilizing Hog and really thinking and practicing with that Hog playstyle. Alright, last question. Ans, you and San Francisco Shock will be facing against either Shanghai Dragons or Philadelphia Fusion. In your personal opinion, who do you think is going to win and why? 마지막 질문은 좀 재밌는 질문이에요, 안 선수. 다음 경기인 상하이 팀과 필리 경기에서 이긴 팀과 이제 붙게 될 텐데 안 선수가 보시기에는 누가 이길 것 같고 또 이유가 뭔지.
딱히 누가 이길 것 같다라는 생각은 들잖아요. 왜냐면 퓨전도 정규 시즌 1등 팀이기도 하고 상하이도 아시아권 1등 정규 시즌 팀이기도 하니까 솔직히 말하면 퓨전이 올라오면 좋겠죠. 이제 북미 지역 같은 팀이었기도 했고 되게 여러 번 경기를 했기도 했어서 그래서 저는 퓨전으로 선택하도록 하겠습니다.
다시 한 번만 말씀해 줄 수 있나요? 짧게? 죄송합니다. 제가 잘 못 들어가지고.
일단 북미 팀 정규 시즌 1등 팀과 아시아 북미 시즌 1등 팀이 붙는 거기 때문에 자세하게는 정확하게 잘 모르겠지만 올라올 팀을 예상을 하자면 이제 퓨전이 올라오지 않을까. 많이 대회를 겨뤄보기도 했고 얼마나 잘하는지 알고 있기 때문에.
Okay. Alright, so because it's Philadelphia Fusion and Shanghai Dragons, and both were number one place in their respective region during the regular season, I feel like it really depends how the match goes. But because we've played against Philadelphia Fusion a lot, I feel like Philadelphia Fusion does have the upper hand. Alrighty, that is it for the post-match interview. Ans, thank you very much. 안 선수 여기로 이제 인터뷰 마치겠고요. 너무나도 감사합니다. 인사 한 말씀 해주세요. 마지막으로.
Thank you so much. Thank you for keep cheering our team and keep going watching. Thank you so much.
Alrighty guys, we're gonna go take a real quick break. After we come back, match 2 starting